It happened during one of those quiet suburban nights, the kind where every sound feels louder and even the wind outside seems to whisper secrets. I was just 9 years old. My parents had gone out for dinner, leaving me home with my older sister, Lily. It wasn't the first time we were alone, and honestly, I liked those moments. She'd let me stay up late and watch whatever I wanted on TV. That night, we had popcorn, cartoons on full blast, and a living room dimly lit by the flickering glow of the screen. But around 10 p.m., the energy shifted. The TV volume dropped, not by the remote, but by us instinctively reacting to something. We heard it. 3 knocks. Loud, measured, precise. They came from the front door, not rushed, not hesitant. It was like whoever, or whatever, was out there knew the rhythm that would freeze the air in our lungs. My sister looked at me, eyebrows furrowed, then slowly stood up. "Probably just a neighbor," she said, not really believing it. I tiptoed to the window beside the door, pulled the curtain back just a little. Nothing. No movement. No footsteps walking away. Just the streetlight casting its pale orange glow over an empty front porch. We locked the door. All of them, even the small bolt we never used. Tried to shake it off, went back to the couch, but the silence now had weight. We sat there, barely breathing, ears tuned for anything. And then the handle turned. Slowly, deliberately, someone was twisting it back and forth, testing it. My sister jumped up and pressed her full weight against the door. I ran to grab my dad's flashlight, shining it through the peephole, but again, nothing. No shadow, no shape, just the eerie sense that something was there, inches away, yet invisible. And then, a voice, whispering through the gap between the door and frame. "Let me in," it said, calm, almost playful. "I just want to watch you sleep." My sister froze. I saw her lips move silently, repeating the words to herself as if trying to confirm she'd really heard them. I backed away from the door, heart pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. She didn't scream. She didn't even cry. Instead, she reached for the phone with shaky hands and dialed the emergency number while still bracing the door with her body. I remember standing in the hallway, staring at the door as if it might burst open at any second. The whisper had stopped, but the silence it left behind was even worse. We stayed like that for what felt like forever, waiting, listening. Every little creak in the walls sounded like footsteps. Every gust of wind felt like a breath on the back of our necks. When the police arrived, sirens off, lights muted, they checked the entire property. Nothing. No signs of forced entry, no footprints on the porch, no tire marks on the street. It was as if no one had ever been there. One of the officers even joked that maybe it was just a prank, but my sister didn't laugh. She insisted they check the security cameras. That's when things got even stranger. We all gathered around the small monitor in the kitchen. The footage clearly showed the porch, the door, the street. It showed us inside, moving around. The knocks, they happened. The time matched. We could hear them in the audio, but the video showed no one. Not a single person on the porch. The door handle turned on its own, just turned, like a hand was there, invisible. The voice, it didn't register on the tape. But my sister and I remember every word. To this day, we still do. And every now and then, when the house is quiet and the lights are off, I swear I still hear it, not from the front door this time, but right outside my bedroom window.
It was already past midnight when I finally turned off the lights. I had spent hours replaying the argument I'd had with my mom earlier that evening. Sharp words, slammed doors, the kind of fight that leaves the house echoing long after it's over. My room felt colder than usual. Not just cold, off. The kind of chill that settles under your skin, not on top of it. I pulled the blankets up to my chin and tried to convince myself that it was just leftover tension making me uneasy. The hallway was dark, silent. No footsteps, no murmurs from the TV, no sign that anyone else in the house was still awake. I lay on my side, back to the room, staring at the wall. I remember trying to slow my breathing, to count backwards from 10 like my mom always told me when I was little. But before I got past 7, I felt it, a sudden grip on my ankle, not a touch, not a brush, a grip, firm, cold, and unmistakably human. I gasped so hard my throat burned. My hand shot to the lamp on the nightstand and light flooded the room. But no one was there. I was alone. The door was closed, the windows shut. I kicked the blankets away and sat up, heart thundering in my chest, eyes darting from corner to corner. Then I looked down. My ankle was red. 5 distinct marks, 4 fingers and a thumb. I reached down and traced them, trying to convince myself it was from my own hand, that I had done it in my sleep somehow. But the pressure, the cold, the timing, it didn't make sense. Slowly, and I don't know why, I leaned over the edge of the bed and looked underneath. There was nothing. No movement, no shape hiding in the shadows. Just boxes, some old shoes, and a thin layer of dust that somehow made the air under the bed feel heavier. But even in that stillness, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had just been there, as if whatever touched me was clever enough to vanish a second before I looked. I sat frozen on the mattress, legs tucked close to my chest, eyes fixed on the floor. Every few minutes I'd glance at the door, half expecting it to creak open on its own. But it never did. The house stayed eerily silent, too silent. I must have eventually fallen asleep with the lamp still on, but I didn't rest. My dreams were filled with flashes, hands reaching from under the bed, something dragging me down, voices whispering just below the edge of hearing. And then, sometime around 4 a.m., I woke up to the sound of someone crying. I followed it down the hall and found my mom in the kitchen, shaking and pale, with tears streaming down her face. She looked at me like she'd seen a ghost. She didn't ask if I was okay. She told me I wasn't. She said she had a dream so vivid it made her sick. In it, she walked into my room and saw someone, pulling me by the ankle, dragging me under the bed. And the worst part, I wasn't fighting. I was completely still, eyes open, like I'd already given up. She said she tried to pull me out, but I just kept slipping further away. That same morning, when I went back to my room, the handprint on my ankle was gone. Not faded, gone. No bruising, no redness. As if it had never happened. But I remember the cold, the weight. And even now, whenever I sleep alone, I never let my foot hang off the edge of the bed. Not after that night. Not after the grip that didn't leave a mark, but never really let go. I've worked as a housekeeper at the same hotel for over 8 years. It's one of those old places with creaky floors, long velvet curtains, and chandeliers that flicker even when there's no wind. Most of the time, it's routine. Clean the sheets, vacuum the carpets, refill the soaps. But there's one room, 213, that everyone quietly avoids. We never talk about it out loud, but we all know. The door's always locked, and it never shows up on the list of occupied rooms. So when my supervisor handed me a key card and told me to clean it, I thought it was some kind of mistake. I went up alone, cart squeaking as I pushed it through the hallway. The door to 213 was closed, as always, but the moment I slid the card, the reader flashed red, locked. I knocked, just to be sure. No answer. I tried again, still locked from the inside. I didn't want to push it further, so I went back downstairs to grab my supervisor. She looked confused, but followed me back up. And when we turned the corner toward the room, the door was open, wide open. No sound, no movement, just this heavy, stale smell in the air, like wet fabric that had been left in the dark for too long. I stepped in slowly. The lights were off, but sunlight streamed through the closed curtains. The window was shut tight. The air was thick, hard to breathe. On the bed, the sheets were messy, like someone had just gotten up. No suitcase, no personal items, but the dent in the pillow, it was fresh. Someone had been there. Someone still might be. I called out a soft, "Hello?" but got nothing back. I walked to the bathroom, heart pounding, trying to pretend I wasn't scared. I grabbed the used towels from the sink. Then I looked up into the mirror. She was standing right behind me, not reflected in the glass like a memory or a trick of the light. No, her outline was clear, sharp, mistakable. A woman, pale as linen, hair long and matted, eyes dark like empty hallways. She didn't blink. She didn't move. She was just there, like she'd always been. I turned around so fast I nearly knocked over the towel cart. But the room was empty. The mirror still showed her for half a second longer, even when no one was there. That's when I dropped everything and ran. I didn't even close the door behind me. Downstairs, I tried to explain what I saw. My supervisor gave me that look, not of disbelief, but of someone who already knew. She pulled me aside and said that years ago, a woman was found in that room. She had been staying there alone for weeks. No visitors, no phone calls. The staff assumed she was waiting for someone, maybe a husband, maybe a child, but they never came. She passed away in her sleep, the hotel completely unaware until another guest complained of a smell. When they found her, she looked peaceful, like she was still expecting a knock on the door. Since then, they keep the room locked. No guests, no bookings. But every now and then, the cleaning schedule glitches and sends someone up there. And when that happens, she shows up. Always in the mirror, never in the room itself. As if she doesn't know she's gone. Or worse, as if she's still waiting. I never went back to that floor again. And to this day, whenever I pass a mirror in an empty room, I look twice. Because if you ever see someone there who isn't standing beside you, you don't ask why, you just leave.